C'est parti.
Okay. So, Ryan, congratulations for the show.
Thanks.
And, I think it's a well-deserved recognition for your work, actually.
Thank you. Appreciate that.
So, can you tell us a little bit about your backgrounds and what is it that you do at Marvel Studios?
My background, I grew up, starting from the beginning, I grew up in Ohio, small town, grew up watching cartoons and, like Spider-Man cartoons and Transformers and Smurfs, and started drawing all those characters. And my parents always really encouraged me, so I ended up going to college for product design. And then went to art school after that for illustration, and was lucky enough to, during that time I was in art school, show some of my work to Ian McKeag, and he hired me to work on a small movie that he had been working on. Ian McKeag is, a design director from the Star Wars prequels, and he had been one of my heroes. And I, through that job, I met Jon Favreau, and then he hired me onto Iron Man, and it's all been very, I'm not going to say it was easy because it's been a lot of hard work, but it's been very fortunate for me to, start where I started to end up working on all these Marvel movies. In terms of my day-to-day and what I do for a living, I basically design the Marvel icons for the films. And a friend of mine, Charlie Wen, and I co-supervise a group of artists that end up doing keyframe illustrations and designing the Marvel characters for the movies. So on a day-to-day basis, I'm talking to other artists, managing what they're doing, and also drawing and working on each one of these characters. Okay.
I wanted to know something about your opinion about costume designs for the Avengers. Mm-hmm. I wanted to know what is your goal, the goal that you aim when you are creating a new character like Thor, for example. You are trying to be as close as the comic book covers, or it's a new opportunity to create something new for you?
I think we're always trying to be as close to the comics as possible. I mean, I think we're trying to find ways that we can take that comic image and make it as real as we can. With Thor, again, Charlie Wen ended up designing the Thor costume for that movie and for the Avengers. So I think specifically what he was trying to do was trying to take like the Kirby, Jack Kirby qualities that are very simple and very iconic, and try and find a way to add some realism to those to make them feel like they fit in our world, and then also try and work in some subtle like Norse intertwining design motifs, and hopefully through that make it feel like there's a culture involved and there's something more than just 6 discs, a cape and a helmet. So it's a lot of what we're trying to do is add a layer of realism that could be function, it could be a lot of other things that add a sense of reality to the costumes.
You also worked on Watchmen and Transformer 2, mm-hmm. and something like God of War 2, the mm-hmm. video games. I wanted to know what is for you the differences between DC Comics, Marvels, and Hasbro, for example, with the state of mind in each company. Is it the same work method for you or not?
Well, in terms of the type of work that we do, the thing at Marvel is that we have an ability to work directly with the directors and the producers there. So, what's fantastic to me about Marvel Studios is that I get to talk to Jon Favreau, I get to talk to Joss Whedon, I get to work with them directly. When I worked on Watchmen, I was working for a costume designer that was working for the director. And typically what that just meant was that I was sort of executing the costume designer's design ideas. So in terms of like how a DC movie is accomplished versus how a Marvel movie is accomplished, that's one of the big differences, is that I don't have direct contact with a director, having worked on Watchmen. In terms of like Marvel versus DC versus other things, I don't know. I mean, the DC universe seems to be so much about gods and legends and mythology that those characters are sort of so iconic that you can't, doesn't even seem like you can change them that much. And I think that what's interesting about the Marvel universe is because the characters are a little bit more flawed and they're a little bit more real in a way. I think there's a little bit more of a I don't want to say license, but there's a little bit more opportunity to bring them into our real world by adding, making Iron Man feel like a real piece of machinery, by making Captain America's costume feel hopefully like a soldier's uniform. With Thor, to try and make him feel like he's part of a culture, he's part of he's part of Asgard.
Okay, I have this nerdy question about the Iron Man suit.
Okay.
Because I've seen an interview a few days ago of Josh Whedon saying that for the Avenger, the Iron Man circle is back, and because it has a meaning, a special meaning, and the triangle does not. So I wanted to have your opinion on that, and what did you do to make it back for the Avengers?
Right. I don't know what Joss meant by it having a meaning. I think if I was going to try and figure it out, I would imagine that he means that it's representative of the thing that's inside Tony's chest, and if it's a circle that's in his chest, it should be a circle that's on the outside of the suit. But I don't know what his thing was. I mean, basically, what got communicated to us designing those suits was that Joss liked the circle, so he wanted to bring the circle back. He didn't explain to us exactly why. Phil Saunders, who had the crew of guys that has worked on all of these characters, has basically been a very tight-knit crew of guys. So on the first Iron Man, it was Adi Granoff, Phil Saunders, and I that worked on all the suit designs. Phil and Adi really did the red and gold suit, and I did the Mark I, the one in the cave, and I did the Ironmonger suit. Going forward into Avengers, Phil and Adi again sort of led the charge on that one. And I think what they tried to focus on was maybe making the suit a little bit bigger, because it is sort of like the suit that he goes to war in. At the end of the film, it's meant to be a big epic action sequence. So hopefully the Iron Man suit feels really substantial and sort of maybe a little bit bulkier than the previous versions.
Okay. And my last question. I read that you're on Iron Man 3. Can you tell us a little bit about the suits? Is there any new suits for Tony Stark? Or
I don't think I can really say anything about it other than to say yes, there'll be a new suit. I mean, that's the thing that's great about Iron Man, is that he's always changing, and even if it's subtle changes, they're always there. So we're working on a new suit design, and hopefully you'll like it when it comes out.
Okay, thank you very much.